Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, and Robbie is first. Good to see you, Robbie, and then Pedigree Monkey, Jen and the Birds.
Great to see you guys. Love's greatness, peace unto you as well. And we have Elena in the house over in the Waynesville area. Hope everybody is enjoying their 6th of July.
Yeah. Gosh, it sure is hot, isn't it? That's definitely a problem. The heat is significant, and it's affecting people across the board. So I hope you guys are staying cool, you and your furry friends.
Well, sorry to hear about your dad, Robbie. He's been sick for 5 days. Um, you know, it seems like a lot of people are going through a lot of different things. A lot of people are having hard time sleeping, or maybe I should say, finding rest. Because even when they go to sleep, it seems like they're getting woke up a lot of times and finding that it's just not restful, good, solid sleep.
I mean, we need restful sleep. That's key. There's certain things that our brain needs, and we can knock ourselves out with certain things, but is your brain actually healing and rejuvenating when you sleep? You've got to guard your sleep. Your sleep is so critical for the body to recover and the brain to recover and detox. That's so important. So fight for your sleep like no other. It's critical.
Yes, Christine Love, good to see you. As always, our beloved KK is in the house. And Zeno, Jen, great to see you as well. Dan, welcome. Glad you're here. Sin Havoc, no rest at all. No rest for the weary. It's what it feels like. It feels like we're in this battle. And man, the temp, it feels pretty brutal, but if I look at it just as a number, it's like 92 or 93. Yeah, that's probably what it normally is this time of year. For us.
Yes, yeah, it's kind of warm. It's kind of warm. Hello there, John. Good to see you. Hot Springs. Miss Diana, good to see you. Glad everybody could make it. Hello there, Tracy. Just waking up. Good. Get your rest. Make sure you get plenty of sleep. Um, yeah, I think we have some grounding that we need to be doing moving forward, and sleep is a very important part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Diana's in the house. Good to see you. Tracy, great to see you as always. Max Meeks, thank you so much, Max, for a small snack. Source bless. Yes, absolutely. Glad you're here, Max. Lucid Arms, great to see you as well. Pinch Runner, be safe out there. You got some storms over your way. And Rosemary's here from a very cold morning in the land down under. Well, that sounds kind of good to me right now.
Well, cold would be, yeah, I guess it's relative. A lot of people would rather have the cold right now, but you just never know. I mean, if you can be in a good place weather-wise wherever you're at, I guess you're good. Hello there, Miss Shelley. Throwing some of my winter cool your way. Well, we appreciate it. We could use it because you walk outside here and it's just a sweat box. And I would say it is good for the skin, but come on. I mean, we can't really do anything. We either have to be out before 8 a.m. in the morning or after 8 p.m. at night to get too much done. So that part has been hard.
Yeah, it's been very hard. Can't seem to get caught up. I have so much work to do as far as like homestead type stuff, and we just can't seem to find the time for it. We did find the time to do this. This was a channeled message that Cindy received this morning talking about CERN's shutdown. So we sharing that with, again, the members over on YT and with Patreons first. And, there's a lot of strange things going on, but the sun, you could see the sun was going crazy. And now all of a sudden it looks like it's smoothing out. KP is just over 2 right now. Yeah, it's still, this is the way it is. It ebbs and flows. We had that X1.3 solar flare on the 4th, but now it's been quiet since then. But I'm sure that won't last. And looking at the Schumann, it's actually quiet right now. We had a pretty decent spike a couple of days ago, but at the moment, not bad. And our largest quake right now is a 5.8 over in the Philippines at 35 kilometers depth. And then we have another one over in the Philippines of a 5.4 at the same depth. And then, a couple of 5.1s, but relatively quiet. Nothing too unusual there either. You do have Cuba. Unfortunately, this is not too unusual anymore. Hit with another island-wide blackout, leaving roughly 10 million people without power. Officials say the cause is under investigation as the country's aging electric grid continues to struggle. Fuel reserves very low. Second nationwide blackout this year. Hospitals and critical services among those impacted as Cuba faces an ongoing energy crisis. Again, it's been isolated by the United States. And, I'm sure most people are aware of that issue that's been ongoing. Gosh, this goes all the way back to the Cuban Missile Crisis, which was even before I was born. And, you've still got a situation geopolitically there where people are suffering. Well, in case you totally forgot about that Epstein guy, you have Epstein's accountant names 5 high-profile figures in congressional testimony. Representative James Comer said Jeffrey Epstein's former accountant identified 5 individuals and families who made payments to Epstein. They gave him money. What for? Well, that's a different question. The Rothschilds. Yeah, one of the world's most influential banking dynasties. They have their noses everywhere. Les Wexner, billionaire founder of L Brands, the former parent company of Victoria's Secret. And I think we all know what Victoria's Secret is by now. Leon Black, billionaire, co-founder of Apollo Global Management. Glenn Dubin, hedge fund billionaire, co-founder of Highbridge Capital Management. Steven Sinofsky, former Microsoft executive and technology leader. Comer says his committee has already deposed Les Wexner and plans to question Leon Black next. Well, are they going to bring in the whole Rothschild family? Oh, don't stop there. Again, where are we in this world? We're at a situation where a lot of activity has been questioned by perhaps the majority at this point in time, or close to the majority of people in the world, and not a single thing has really constructively been done to alleviate some enormous misjustices that have been happening on the planet. Why was Jeffrey E. talking about pandemics back with, the Gil Bates character multiple times after his 2008 conviction? Epstein wasn't a virologist. He wasn't an epidemiologist. He wasn't a public health official. By the way, Gil Bates is not a doctor, and all the above. And yet he seems to have his nose in so many things. Who is he really? And why does he and so many others that we just talked about, like the Red Shields and Fauci and others, why are they above the law? Are they the law? I mean, what's the reality here?
Yeah, I think we all know that's the problem. All the people that already know, and what do we do about it? We need to reach those who don't know, but those that don't know, that need to know, are probably so busy working their 9 to 5 and keeping a roof over their head and trying to keep up with the bills and just live their regular life. What do you do? It's just frustrating at this point.
Yeah, since Sin Havoc says 5 families are really the same family when you got down to it. That is very, very true. Absolutely. The financial crisis of '07, '08 wasn't manufactured, Renee is bringing up. And yeah, and when you think about it, all these things go completely together. We see through it. You're not going to be able to, nobody's going to be able to convince you otherwise now that we understand a bigger picture here. And, it's still, we're at that awkward time where the power structure is still there, yet it shouldn't be there, but it's still there.
It is really, really frustrating. KK, she speaks about if you have enough money, you can buy your place, your ticket to pretty much anywhere to freedom. Isn't that sad that the world that we live in, if you have enough money, you can escape certain miseries, and it's just wrong. I think everybody deserves, you know, a safe place to live, clean water, clean, healthy food, and the ability to allow themselves to heal. There's that opportunity to heal if they're serious about it, if they really want it, if they're ready to change their ways, eat different. Everyone deserves these opportunities, but it's only for those that, can afford it. It's just wrong. But that's part of their plan, is to feed us poisonous water, poisonous food. So we don't have the energy to go up against them. But I really want to be in a place where we can prove them wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, Renee brings up a touchy subject, NPC. What's the truth behind NPC? Are we talking zombie apocalypse? Does that mean all you're going to have is NPCs, or will the NPCs be triggered? And what triggered in what way? Again, there's so many different frequencies that we're being exposed to. What's it going to look like with 6 and 7G? I think it's kind of undeniable that they rushed 5G. They put towers up everywhere, and we immediately had that big lockdown.
Yeah, we do. I look at NPCs are beings, and they're just in the matrix. They follow the rules. They cross their T's, dot the I's, fill in the I understand this policy, and they don't look between the lines. That's kind of how I see it. It's not that they're not beings, they are. They're just they're in the system, and that's all they can see with blinders on until something or someone comes along and, it's time in their life where they can wake up. That's kind of what I see it as.
It's like, be interesting to look at and do clinical assessments on, people that exhibit psychotic behavior. Would they be mostly what we would call NPCs? Is there like a lack of a moral compass? Has something been turned off genetically that's not turned off in those that we would, not think are NPCs?
Yeah, I agree, Renee. Calling people NPC dehumanizes people and can make us careless about them. I think that's definitely a concern, and that's why I've steered away from those words. But I thought, well, does it help to avoid it, or does it help for me to say, hey, they're people just like us. They're just in the system, and that's all they can see right now. They're definitely here. Maybe they're here for a different reason. So I don't know. Maybe that does help some people.
And thank you for bringing that up, because if you are somebody like what I take, one of my core things is trying to live as best I can by the concept of ahimsa, which is no harm. But perfect scenario.
Playing character. I told Tracy, she's asking what is.
Oh yeah, that's a non-playing character, which means like if you ever play in a video game, you might be playing against a whole bunch of people online, and some of the characters are being played by AI. They're being played by the game. There's not a human at the other side of a keyboard joystick, so to speak. Well, it's thought that some people maybe aren't like other people. People have brought up the whole concept of maybe some of them don't have souls. I think there's going to be a lot coming out about that in the future as well. I mean, maybe we've seen a lot of NPCs. Now what exactly they are, that might take a while to get down to the truth of it. When you looked at Fetterman, there were so many different versions of John Fetterman again, this is part of a Congress in the U.S. It wasn't even close. Some of them didn't even look like him at all. At least most of the Bidens had a little bit of a resemblance. But yeah, so, I mean, are some literally cloned? I think people can easily accept people in masks, in this day and age. There's a lot of people that have done little tests and gotten made up to the point where you don't even think anything's out of the ordinary. But cloning, I think cloning has been around thousands of years, maybe way longer. It might have, well, in reality, I bet cloning existed before the Earth was even the Earth, when you get down to it, and when the Earth was Tiamat and other places. See, that's the thing. When you come into this world and you're given a reality where we're the only life there is out there, there's nothing but us, it just makes you a little bit, you view everything inside the fishbowl, and you can't conceive of anything outside of the fishbowl.
Mm-hmm. I look at, nature, and even nature has mimics. Nature has animals and plants, and even weeds. Weeds can bring themselves up in a garden full of food, let's say strawberries, and there can be weeds that sort of look enough like a strawberry that they won't get picked, and how does the plant know to go in there? Oh, butterflies, butterflies can be mimics, and look like something else that they're not. And nature is pretty exciting. Yes, clones. And there are definitely those. Nature does it too. Like Mike found a stick bug outside the other day. It's making itself look like a stick. So we find it all over. I just think the problem is when it's falsified or it's synthetic. It's made up of something that's not of Earth. Then to me, that's where it gets a little creepy.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I think too, when you're talking NPCs, it could be like Emma was saying, clones and shapeshifters. And then I think Max was saying meat possessed, no, demon possessed meat suits. So it could be quite a few different things that we're putting into the same category as NPCs.
Yeah, you just don't want to go along, treating people like that. Everyone's a human. Everyone has emotions. And if there is someone in your path that seems like, okay, well, this person's just in the matrix, we learn stuff from them. We figure out, okay, well, is there something triggering me? What do I need to look at? So anytime you are experiencing something from an external force, that's the cue for you to go within and figure out, okay, why does this even raise an eyebrow for me?
Yeah, and then that's the bigger thing because, in certain religions, it's thought that the human soul is very different than other souls. And then in other religions, souls are all souls, and there's really no difference. The difference is in the vehicle, which makes it harder in some situations to communicate and express yourself with other beings. But in some traditions, it's said there's really only one consciousness, and we're all different aspects of that. So obviously then we always want to be nice and do our best and have compassion for all beings, even those we might categorize as being an NPC of sorts.
So, KK, a little bit of Himalayan in that water, just a tiny pinch of Himalayan. It sounds like your cells are not absorbing what they need to absorb, or you can put a little piece of rock salt under your tongue, and then they say that that's supposed to open the cells so uh the cells can get hydrated, but that's also a sign of healing. It's a sign that there's healing energy coming through, so definitely continue to try to get hydrated.
Yeah, and so Robbie was bringing up Dolly the sheep. Yeah, I remember that story very well. It brought up, I mean, I think I was in high school when that was going on. I want to say, I forget what year it was, but it brought up a lot of ethics at that point in time. And sometimes, Mary, I could whisper with bugs, not always, as those hornets weren't letting me talk to them at all the other week. and I got nailed. China and Russia is holding their annual joint naval drills. And so this is going to be happening off of China's eastern coast this coming week. This is something they've done before. And, again, military drills just seem to be always happening in this world. Can you imagine if we would just stop fighting each other for 1 year? There's been no year with peace on planet Earth for thousands of years. It's always been just war after war, the whole Kali Yuga. I'd say 6,000 years, a war somewhere all the time. Can you imagine the things we could do? Well, Europe, it really does seem that the EU wants to censor the internet big time. Their new age verification system can't be bypassed by a VPN. In fact, it feels like they want to get rid of VPNs. Cash is banned above 10,000 euros. Bitcoin requires ID above 1,000 euros. Privacy coins will be banned. MICA eliminating 90% of crypto firms' passport for access to the internet. You need an internet passport. Again, the EU itself, it's not elected. I think really there's some countries in some areas more than others that are having a tougher time, when it comes to freedom.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just a situation where I think we kind of have to wiggle our way through it.
Yeah, the Enigman says it's not fair, I guess, to label people, because then you'll give them armbands next. Yeah, and then what's the truth behind a lot of these stories? It's not what we've been brought up with, but still, when you have any group, signaled out, that leads to problems. But how about the fact that there is a very, very elite group of the super rich that seem to be able to commit crimes constantly without any repercussions? Yet there's people being jailed over in the UK for speaking up on Facebook or wherever about the fact that they don't agree with what the government's doing. They get jailed. Meanwhile, other people literally are getting away with murder.
Yes, well, so many people have to sit in court for a traffic ticket or a parking ticket, or any ticket for that matter. Let's say you didn't pay your ticket for, the freeway. And there's so many people getting away with what they get away with. It's so nauseating, and I got to wonder, it feels so deliberate in so many ways just to push our buttons and get us a little bit angry.
Pinch Runner was asking, what is the Kali Yuga? It's a period of time in which humanity enters the dark, our world enters the darkest energies. Again, it's a big cycle. So it literally does relate to where our sun is and where we are positionally in our bigger path through our galaxy. Our whole solar system is moving. And then I understand there's going to be people that say, out there that there's no such thing as space. There's no such thing as planets, etc. Again, if you want to get into that, then you have to realize it's all a holographic projection ultimately. So everything is in your own mind, ultimately anyway. Bless you, Rama.
Yeah, and it's just difficult.
It is. And Cortez is in the house, and that's great to see. Musical Bard. Yeah, we don't do much on Reddit either. I got banned from Reddit a long time ago. We deprive 2 generations of children of whole milk. It's a form of child abuse. Whole milk contains full spectrum of micronutrients kids desperately need for brain growth, physical development, and strong bones. So instead, for decades, schools, government guidelines, and experts push low-fat, skim, fat-free, and processed plant milk alternatives, which were literally robbing millions of children of natural fats and nutrients. Again, we've come to learn that fat's not the problem. Fat's not the problem. We've also recognized that, hey, They're constantly making the recommended blood pressure readings drop and make it harder for more people to be in that, hey, you're doing great category. But what it does do is it makes more people in that category where they're going to recommend a product that they're going to end up making money off of. That's just the reality. Same thing when you look at cholesterol numbers. Those things change. And then we've noticed now that we see people that have taken statins for their cholesterol numbers, and a disproportionate number of them seem to be developing other issues. Could it be a coincidence? I don't think there's ever any coincidences. But here RFK Jr. is talking about, again, when you destroy the enzymes like pasteurization. Louis Pasteur is made out to be a saint, but he was a 33rd degree Mason. If you go and look back, just like, again, so many others. The founder of the Mormon Church was a high-level Mason. The founder of the Jehovah's Witness, high-level Mason. And then again, we could look to Karl Marx, given as the father of modern communism, high-level Mason. Goes on and on. Louis Pasteur. I mean, we could go on and on with this. Again, there's the manipulation that's been going on is at a very deep level, a very, very high level. And part of what they do, too, is put out there things so that we won't question them as like a sore spot, a touchy spot. They will a lot of times lash out there and start calling, the pot calling the kettle black type stuff in order to cover their own backs and butts. Because, ultimately, this has been a long-term project that we've gotten away from real food. And honestly, the packaged food, that is what's really killing people. All the processed foods. The more processes involved, the more ingredients involved, generally speaking, the less healthy it is.
Yes, yeah, I mean, you want to be able to take the thing off the tree or pick the thing off the plant and eat it. I mean, the closer you can get to those two steps, the better off it's going to be for your body. But it just still floors me to this day. And so many places you can go and buy an energy drink with all of these really bad ingredients, or get a vape with all these really bad ingredients, and or even get a Snickers that's made of petroleum, but you cannot get raw milk in a lot of places. I mean, when I first moved where we're at right now, it was illegal, and I asked about it, and people treated me like I was asking for crack. I mean, they really did. They were just like 50 people. Oh, it's illegal. It's illegal. Like, they're just falling right in line with the whole narrative. And I get it. We all have to pretend that we go along, but it really, it was just so sad. Granted, things have shifted a little bit, so that's good. But it's just so bass-ackwards out there.
There's a little fire-nado, or is that a little bit of a gin action going on?
What is that there?
Yeah, it's interesting. Again, when you really look at things, where is consciousness? I think consciousness is everywhere. There's not a place where consciousness is not. Yeah, it doesn't mean we have intelligent people running the show. Spiritually, no, they're not intelligent at all. They do know how to make money. And here's like a type of thing we could literally do with drones. Drones, we have so much technology that's being put out there that could really be used for good. Instead of spying on us in case we figure out the schemes of the ultra elite and the corporations out there that make so much profits off of all of us, and also often off the pain and suffering. We could be using the technology to save people, save lives, and in some cases it is being used, and that's really a good thing. This is over in China. If you haven't noticed, the weather is pretty insane lately.
Yeah, the weather is insane, but I have seen a little more often where people are getting having the ability to use that, have that technology used on them. I do see some things coming out of the woodwork, which are good that the technology is being used for. And I think that's where we need to just keep our eye on the ball. Definitely keep our eye on the ball when it comes to that.
Yeah, and thank you, Jen, and everybody for, again, all your works on moderation, because you get people that's the perfect example of what we would call as an NPC, somebody that is, out there, just, making fun of things and, uh, don't understand how everything that you put into your body and even that which you take into your mind, it affects you, it affects your frequency. And you have to guard against things that lower your frequency. So it really is time for a split in so many ways of energies. I think we're absolutely getting to that point in time. Bavi is a powerful super typhoon, and it did hit some smaller islands, including Guam, and what was the other one there? Okay, that was yeah, but it is after that going to be impacting Taiwan and then China. It'll probably make landfall in Taiwan. They're saying as category 2 or 3. That could change, because this type of thing is always changing. But Rhoda got the brunt of the impact. The eye wall went right over the island. Only about 2,000 people live there. Hopefully, everybody was sheltered in place as best as can be. But it doesn't even take, again, a super typhoon to cause a lot of problems, because there's just massive floods going on. Heavy rain swamps China's Fushan as rain tops 13 inches in 17 hours. This is the type of thing, and by the way, that's the type of rainfall it's going to be off of the northeast coast, and in these next coming days, which again, hope stays off the coast instead of on the coast. But we're finding this type of thing happening time and time again.
It does seem to be ramping up. I mean, the extremes, their places are either flooded or they're on fire right now. That's no good.
No, it's just insane. And over in India, 13 deaths in a heavy monsoon. Oh my gosh. Like the stuff that we're witnessing, it's just brutal. This is a whole building collapsing, and this is not from winds, this is just from saturation. Granted, it didn't look like it was too strong. Nope, but it's no earthquake. It's not winds, it's not an earthquake, it's just the ground being so saturated. It's just incredible. And this is over in Mumbai, and again, flights delayed, massive floods, all sorts of disruptions. It's just so many people are being rescued by drones, by helicopters, by boat. Over here, we're looking at New Zealand state of emergency as well. Again, this is all over. If it's not if you're not getting flooded, then likelihood is there's some fires or something else happening.
Something.
It's just been ramping up, it seems, going back to 2017. Hundreds of thousands of chickens have died in France's extreme heat wave. That's very sad. Temperatures getting to be like 104, 105. It's not typical. Again, these guys need relief from heat. Chickens pant. In case you've never seen it, they actually do pant.
They do, those poor things, those extremely poor things. The other thing that's going on is a lot of places are out of electricity. They're shutting the electricity off to conserve. And then, of course, all the government offices, the people that are just pencil pushing, they don't have to worry about losing a refrigerator full of food. They have the AC set. Okay, I can understand emergency services, they need AC, hospitals, they need AC. But just, I mean, it's kind of a slap in the face. Like there's grocery stores don't have any AC. They're losing everything, and what's going to happen? It's just it's not fair with the heat wave. That it's deadly. You have this, and then the water. They're turning the water on in the streets, but that is making it so that there's no water pressure up on the higher places in places like New York, and they've shut off the subway. They have the escalators, and they even shut off the AC in the subway, so people can't even go there and get cold. This was a couple days ago. Still, I'm sure even if the power is on right now, I'm sure they're still reeling from the disconnect with power. And at the subway, the shutting off the escalators, so now people, not only are they hot and probably very close to major dehydration or heat stroke, they have to walk up the stairs. I mean, it's one thing if you want to because you need exercise, but not if your health is not good and you're already suffering from the lack of heat. I mean, this is like a domino effect. Things are just really set to be disastrous, because even if they can't run their refrigerator for 12 hours, they're going to lose most of their food. And then the stores, well, they're not having refrigerated food either. So how are they going to replace the food? It's a mess.
Yeah, and Robbie was talking about the flooding, like again off the Massachusetts, Long Island coast, and then next month too. When you look at the astrology, I think next month is going to be a much bigger month than this month. It feels like this month is going to kind of ramp things up, but I think it's August where you're going to see real big time events, more for the history books. This, by the way, this map's showing the hottest temperatures ever recorded in each of the United States, which might surprise you a little. Like, the state of Washington actually has a hotter high temperature than Florida. And in fact, when you look at Florida's 109, many states beat that. And in fact, Florida's probably in the bottom echelon there. But when you get closer to the equator, the weather's a little bit more balanced and steady. But yeah, extremes like the Dakotas, man, you guys are tough up in the Dakotas. You get 120, and then at the same time, I think you guys actually get temperatures that might be 20 or 30 actually below zero. Takes a hardy person to make it through that.
In Colorado, you need rain. We will definitely send vibes for rain over to Colorado. We have a lot of really wonderful family members over in Colorado and out towards the west. And it's been difficult. And, Robbie, you told them you would bring them back water, but you didn't. Don't beat yourself up. Those bunnies, they have ways of finding water. They're going to make it. But, all the acts of kindness, they do add up when you can. But really, ultimately, you have to take care of yourself first before you can truly help anyone else.
Yeah, you do what you can do. I'm the same way. Things can get to me, and Cindy will be like, well, you did your best, Shevluch, which is a volcano in Kamchatka, which we brought this up before because it does erupt on a regular basis. It is a very active one, but it had multiple eruptions. One was 34,000 feet. Another one was just about 40,000 feet. So yeah, this is definitely one to keep an eye on. And at the same time, I think, again, there's going to be some new ones coming online. That'll be more of what we are looking for. If we see something like Rainier go, or maybe Mount St. Helens or Mount Hood actually wake up, then we're at a totally different place. Over in Turkey, too, I mean, you got people hanging on for dear life, trying to ride these crazy storms. And it's, again, just telling you that it's everywhere. We didn't see this back in, not like we're seeing now, back when I was a kid, 70s and 80s and 90s. It's just seems like it's lately. And the thing that I was looking for updates on Venezuela, what do I see? I keep seeing people talking about missing people. And now we know there's tens of thousands of people missing. Ultimately, there's going to be probably tens of thousands of lives lost. But there's all these stories coming out about, people snatching people, and it seems to be like the dominant thing, that seems to be dominating the Venezuelan news, trying to get updates on how everything is going. Thankfully, again, there hasn't been any major earthquakes in Venezuela. Tarot by Isabella, though, I do believe she was expecting another one possibly this month. Hopefully that won't manifest.
I know that's really, really not a great idea, having those specialized people help hunt for children. That's like putting the fox in charge of babysitting the hen house, is it not?
And then we have a lot of something. Fireball meteors, are these asteroids? What's going on? There's a lot of them.
And it happened west of Stevensville, May 3/28 or 20.
This one's just talking about it. But yeah, there's been a whole bunch. It's every day. This is Montana, a couple other states. This is Tucson, Arizona. Again, they always seem to look like ships to me. I mean, they get so bright. It's just, it makes me think that a lot of these that we're taking to be just rocks are really ships. And at some point in time, I think that it's going to come out and we're going to realize that we were kind of gullible in some ways. This is over in Brazil. There goes another. Take me a hyperdrive. Aye, Captain. This one's a little different. Yeah, that one felt a little bit different than what we were looking at before. And then that one looks so typical. Whoosh, they're just going off to hyperspeed. Florida. So as you can see, it's still ongoing all over the world. This is an article from The Angry Astronaut, and he was talking about a bizarre discovery. At least 2 of these quote-unquote meteors, and probably more, are made of material from the same distant asteroids called Vesta. Are these things being manufactured in the asteroid belt? And what really hit me is the choice of words. Manufactured. Think about this. Like, a natural event, or what looks to be a natural event, would be a way to literally conceal an act of war. What if, advanced beings literally had the capability to use like tow beams to move asteroids into a path where they would hit a potential quote-unquote enemy, or surprise attack another civilization that wasn't expecting them? Because this is kind of, I think, what we got in channeling about the Younger Dryas event. When you look to the Sumerian stories about, the big culling that led to the great flood of Noah, or Ziusudra, it seemed to have a combination of intention to it, most definitely, because again, there was a faction of the Anunnaki that wanted to just get rid of all humans, period, and do something different with the planet. And then others didn't want to do that. But it was like they knew something was coming, and then they evacuated. The Anunnaki left the planet. They left. They went in their ships and they took off. This is what the stories tell us. They watched as things came in and started to bombard Earth. They knew it was coming. They left. They were safe. And they watched the destruction. This is according, again, to the Sumerian tablets, of which there's hundreds of thousands of them, and we've only translated about 20%.
Mm-hmm. And then we don't have access to a lot also. There's just some that, you can't see, and they want them hidden and put away. And then there were so many that they just said, well, these were just nonsense, and these were just stories, and this is not important, and that is not important, and um we're gonna know the truth. It's gonna have to keep dribbling out as slow as it is. It'll keep coming.
Yeah, this says the rumors NASA's in absolute panic. This shows our atmosphere and space and this particular ship. Again, we have all the depictions of the Anunnaki humanish entities with the winged ships. And the reality is there were some of those that were caught many years ago, 2017, 2018. I remember doing videos on that as well. And, what were we watching? Well, again, we've always been visited by beings. It's really only been in the Kali Yuga that, again, we were isolated to a very, very select group. But basically, we've been kind of quarantined, and that quarantine's done. So this is why it's kind of going bonkers now. There were agreements in place, non-interference agreements. It seems like all that's gone now. Pretty much anything could happen when you look at it.
Right. So, they're freaking out over their ship, and their ship does look eerily like, one of those Anunnaki birds, does it not? This non-human intelligence ship that they're talking about that. So, they say that the government's freaking out because they can't hide the ship. It's non-human intelligent. There's interdimensional beings on it. This is like breaking everything open. But I don't even know this. This might not even be a real a video, but it did. It struck me. It struck me. I'm like, hey, that looks familiar. Why does this feel so familiar? And that's really all we can go by is our discernment and intuition these days.
Yeah, and this is what we're talking about. So that's Asher. Again, when you go to the famous burning bush, and Moses says, who will I say sent me? Ea, Ashur, Ea. And isn't it interesting that Ea is Enki, Ea, that was the original name of Enki, Enki, again, Lord of the Earth, but originally it was Prince Ea. Ashur is, again, the Akkadian, the northern side of Iraq, as opposed to the southern Babylonian and Sumerian side of the area. Ashur was a dominant deity. And, this is a winged disc, a guy, he's got a bow. It looks very, very humanish, right? You can see it over and over again, the same representations. This is like what we were talking about, 6,000-year-old tablet there. And then you actually see it on Soho Images. We did a lot of videos about this many years past. Here you go, Ea, Enki, Enki, Ea. Moses burning bush, Ea, Asher, Ea. And literally it's translated as, I am that I am. But is that really what was being said? Because you got to recognize the Masoretes, the Masoretic texts. This was a class of priest scribes in the know that were always altering and changing the texts. They were editing them. Why would they edit them? Because as people started to catch on what was going on, they maybe needed to come up with better explanations.
I agree.
Yeah, that's really what it is. It's the narrative, the control story. This has been, again, a 6,000-year-old control narrative. And it's pretty clear when you really look at it. They all have little technology they're carrying around. They even have, inscriptions that show us the Pleiades, that show us, the 7 known planets. It's pretty wild to think of how far we've come in the last 9 years. And yet, I guess we really have had disclosure. I mean, it's right out there. We've had so many different officials talk about this. So why did they only show grays in Disclosure Day? They only showed a few different variations of grays. I think that might be part of keeping certain parts of the disclosure narrative up their sleeves till later.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think they want to show how much they can actually look like us.
Robbie says, do you know why all the Asuras have mustaches and the Devas don't? No, it's to tell them apart. I guess, right? The bad guys wear the evil mustache and, like dastardly do right?
Yes, not Dudley, dastardly.
Dastardly, yeah. It's just, it's pretty fun, actually, when you think about it from that sense. But here you go. We've uncovered a master gene that switches on human development. We identified the gene that, when activated, initiates the developmental program that results in the cells forming a human body. Yeah, so this is pretty wild. Called Nanog. I look at Nanog and I think Gog and Magog from the Bible again. Its role has been identified by making precise changes to the DNA of fertilized eggs using a technique called CRISPR, base editing. The discovery might lead to ways to boost the success rate of IVF and help treat non-fertility related conditions. The other reason we can study these early stages of human development is that it has really profound importance for stem cell biology. Stem cells are very important, very powerful, maybe the key to the fountain of youth. The thing to realize, though, is why do they want to bring up CRISPR? It's because they want to keep genetic editing humans. So as nature is turning some of our genes on that the Anunnaki turned off, they want to be able to go back in and turn them back off to keep us in a limited scope when it comes to our abilities, our ability to reason, to think, and to rationalize, but also our abilities like our paranormal abilities, our PSI abilities, which are actually part of being human. They've just, and part of being pretty much any type of conscious entity out there. Because again, humans have been more limited, yet with enormous potential compared to other species out there.
There's a lot of new technologies coming out, and I think there's going to be a lot of help when it comes to emotional disorders, which so many of us are. I don't know, we're kind of in a world that's very difficult to be in with our natural human instincts. Our human instincts are twisted and turned and torqued in a way where it's easy to become out of balance and have like a mental illness. It's not fair. It's very, very unfair. But I do see new technologies coming out. There's some really interesting peptides out there that are said to help the brain, and I think those are going to get pushed through, and so they'll be safer over time. But I really caution anyone who's looking at them because of the black market and the gray markets that are out there. There's really no they're just out there for research and studies right now. But the studies that they're doing when it comes to the brain, anxiety, mental illness, I mean, I'm diving in because it's something that's important to me. We'll have to see. So that part of things, it's not the technology, it's how it's used. Always, always, always. To me, that's how I see it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, a lot of this would be great if we had people that really cared about us and about the planet truly in place instead of just cared about their power, wealth, and everything else that goes along with that. So Anna Paulina Luna told Glenn Beck that there's about to be a formal announcement about alien life and the truth about Roswell. Also mentioned disclosure of the government's collection of alien bodies and secret reverse engineered programs, from crash site retrievals. Many people bring up, well, how could they possibly knock out of the sky these ships that are so much more advanced than ours? It's just simply because there is a galactic war that's been ongoing. It's been ongoing well beyond any of our lives. And it's still happening. Again, we get little glimpses of it. Nuremberg 1561 and other times as well. So the technology that's in place on this planet that we don't know about officially is good enough to knock out many very, very advanced ships.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. So we'll have to do. It does feel like, there's just not a whole lot of information coming out all the time. It's more like, yeah, they're going to say it soon. They're going to admit it soon, but I don't know if they're just upping the ante to frustrate people more because they've been saying this for years.
And President Trump was allegedly told during a classified UAP briefing that alien-human hybrids could be living amongst us. According to Representative Eric Burleson, Trump responded by saying, "You mean Adam Schiff?" Claim was shared by Burleson on the American Alchemy podcast. No public evidence has verified the existence of alien-human hybrids. Yeah, because they've done a really good job of trying to cover it up or ignore it. But yeah, there is talk that, perhaps in the next couple of days, there will be some major announcements. And the other reason why I think they're being forced to do it is all the channeled information that's coming out and information coming in from contactees and others. So, everything from Chris Bledsoe, Baba Vanga, talking about this is the year. This particular one's going back into Bashar through Daryl Anka, stating 2026, 2027 is the beginning of open contact. Yeah, open contact. It's really here. It really is here. And then you have articles like this pop up in New York Post. Whistleblower claims CIA used DNA data from Ancestry and 23andMe to search for aliens, or perhaps to search for certain hybrids, perhaps to search for certain people that maybe are going to be superhumans as their DNA turns on.
You never know.
So does the CIA have its own men in black? Of course. Apparently the government isn't disclosing everything it knows. A whistleblower accused the CIA of attempting to use 23andMe and Ancestry to uncover people with extraterrestrial DNA in their makeup. The CIA wants to hunt them down, said philosopher and novelist Jason Reza Georgiani, who is a PhD holder, while discussing the so-called top secret government program in an episode of the podcast American Alchemy. Yeah, absolutely. There's so many people that have come out over the years with this info. If you've been paying attention, none of it is a surprise to you. I know it's not a surprise to any of you guys.
Surprise.
And I'm sure most of you have heard about chromosome 2. It's one of the biggest smoking guns in human evolution. We were talking about CRISPR. Did they use something like CRISPR? Maybe. Something about it just doesn't add up. Almost like it's engineered. Humans have 46 chromosomes, 23 pairs. Chimps, bonobos, and gorillas have 48, 24 pairs. The difference? Chromosome 2 in humans is literally a fusion of two separate chromosomes found in other primates. But in ours, it's fused. And here's where it gets really weird. Normally, when chromosomes fuse like that, it causes genetic disorders or infertility. Again, what a cute little guy's coming. He's only like about 15 inches tall, 18 inches tall, little baby deer. Absolutely adorable. I forgot to put the corn out before starting, but I'll put some out after we're done. So this one, it became universal. In other words, we all have this. Usually, it would mean that they wouldn't be able to reproduce. So, this is pretty obvious. The Sumerian texts talk about the Anunnaki modifying humans. Now, they will claim that they made humans, but they didn't make humans. The Anunnaki did not make humans. They modified what was here. And what they mean by modified is they took away. They turned off genes that were usually working. They limited us. They didn't, in their mind, it's an upgrade for them because they're trying to create the perfect slave species. And, again, the Bible and the Nephilim, The Hindu texts describe the Devas and Asuras creating different races. But the Hindu texts openly talk about different lokas, different worlds. It was not hidden in the Hindu text. And in fact, we knew that those beings like the Asuras that came and enslaved different parts of the world, set themselves up to be worshipped as gods, took the most beautiful wives to be their own wives, and they just did anything they wanted. In the Hindu texts, we knew these are just beings that are in service to only themselves. They're very, very corrupt, and they're a plague upon any planet that they come to. But they're not the creator of all of this. They're not the source of all things. But they do take on titles like that.
Oh, yeah. It definitely have made an impact.
So when you look to it, this is where you got to go doing that cross-referencing and start to see the similarities. Yeah, no, we were changed. They changed us in a way that cut us off from the rest of nature. So other animals, you ever wonder why animals seem to be so psychic? Like they could read thoughts? Because they can. They can, and we're the only ones that haven't been able to. But many more people are turning on now and developing their psychic abilities because, again, we're leaving the Kali Yuga. So now that we're going and we are in the Bronze Age, nature is going to turn back on all those things that they were turning off.
Well, I think it's important to remember that many different species, if you cut off a starfish's arm, it can grow another one. Lizards grow back their tail. Animals grow things back. And I think we're really no different. It's just a matter of where is the sun? Where are we at in the yugas? And, how well are we taking care of our bodies and how much effort are we putting into our temples? And I think the more we do that, the more things can fall back to their natural state, even if they've been altered supposedly permanently. I don't think permanent is real at all. I don't think anything is permanent. Change is the only thing we can really count on.
Yeah, and then we get into the chimeras, which is a part of our history, which they don't want you to know about. It really was like one big island of Dr. Moreau with all different experiments ongoing, trying to make beings that would make the most sense for them. So they were always merging human DNA with avian, with horse, Bigfoot is the closest thing we've gotten to what really is Bigfoot is a species that was created by the Anunnaki's own DNA with gorillas. And it was too big, too powerful, too strong, too unpredictable.
Yeah, it's really weird.
So, this we'll go more into this in the future. But yeah, most beings have definitely advanced psychic abilities, but we will too. And it's turning on. We're all getting more empathetic. We are all getting more intuitive. This is part of the beauty of this age. Everything is being redone anew.
Well, there's a couple of things going on. I know that people, if you've grown up in a traumatizing environment, a traumatizing home, you have a tendency to be able to really read the room because that's something that's complete survival. That's now survival. So that's not always the best way to read, but there is a place inside of us when your nervous system is calm. You can stand next to a dog, stand next to a person, and then those thoughts and that information comes like a magnet. It's really interesting, and I think people are getting better and better at doing that. But humans, we need some more time to heal. I don't think it's quite time to officially roll out the idea that we can read each other's thoughts because there's a lot of trauma there and thoughts can be taken wrong. Ideas can be taken wrong. I don't think we're quite there, but what we can do is be kind and walk with each other and just learn to trust each other and just, kind of allow things to unfold as natural as possible.
Yeah, it is interesting when you look at it too. There is nothing natural about that chromosome fusion, and again, it's just one of those things where the scientists don't really want to get into it too much. This gentleman, what's he doing? He's scraping a window. Yeah, that strange dust that's coming out of the sky. I wonder what's in that dust. Anybody have any guesses? You got any guesses? What's in that dust? What if I told you it was magnetic? Oh, it's the black goo. It's just not goo because it's dry, but it is, again, graphene oxide, nanotech, and coming down in our clouds. When you get to a certain point, all this info, we don't need it all. It's almost overkill. There's no way that we are not, truly, obviously, being controlled by beings that have a much more advanced grip on technology and reality, and are using it to their advantage and to the detriment of humanity and really the rest of the animals on the planet.
It's just not nice.
It isn't. And Jen was just saying that it's been found in birds. Yeah, because it's going in all of us. It really is. Here you go. Why you should talk to your dead ancestors. This is talking about a Buddhist cemetery in Buddhism, in Shintoism, and many what you would call pagan or animist traditions, shamanistic traditions. We've talked about it too, where if you have a holiday or something, anniversary of a loved one's death, maybe you want to set a plate and literally make a plate as if they're there, and give them a portion in their honor, and talk to them, because the reality is most of the time they could hear you even if you can't hear them.
It's a frequency, so you're putting off that frequency, so they just know what you're saying. In the other world, there's no hearing like we hear here. It's inside the soul, and that's how you get the information. But speaking to your loved ones with no expectation of anything in return, that's I think it's just something beautiful.
Yeah, so growing up in a Buddhist tradition, in their household, dead ancestors were not to be feared or avoided. No, again, you would honor them. You would light incense. You would say prayers for them. You would have a little shrine to all those people that you loved and missed, and you would send them energy. When they are in that 4D state, it definitely helps them. And even when everything is connected, so even if they go and take another life and somebody's praying for them, that's still going to bless them in the long run.
Indeed.
Yeah, so I mean, we shouldn't forget those that have passed on. This does talk about different festivals too: Mexican Day of the Dead, Korean Chuseok Harvest Festival, the Hindu Pitru Paksha, which is a remembrance period. It's a nice thing to do, is to remember those that passed on and honor them. Again, chances are when you think of them, they hear you right away.
Instantly. So think of it like, think of the sun and see how the sun has all these different rays coming off of it. When our loved one is no longer having a body, it becomes like this bulb of energy, this ball of energy. And those rays can go many different places at once. So that's how they can visit many different people at once, yet still be in the same place. But that's how it works. And when you have a thought about them, it's like picking up the phone and making that connection, making a phone call.
Absolutely. And as Robbie says, our ancestors do live inside our DNA too, so we could also connect to them that way. And look at these little ones. Aren't they adorable? We want to thank everybody again for your support. We couldn't do it without that. Again, we would invite everybody to join us with YouTube memberships and on Patreon as well for exclusives on a weekly basis, typically. Loka samasta suki no bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free. And may my own thoughts, words, acts, and deeds contribute in some way to the happiness and freedom of all.
Yes, a huge thank you to Max Meeks. And we do have a prayer board in the community tab, but I just want to keep it in the forefront for Lori and Steve. They're still going through what they're going through. And Carrie as well. And anyone who does need prayers in the chat, these are for you as well. So thank you for everything from everyone, Max. We really appreciate you. Thank you for the thumbs up, moderators. You guys just kill it. Thank you so much for keeping it a safe place for people to come and express themselves and be happy, because we want to keep we're all faced with some very difficult things in our lives. Every single one of us, we all have extreme hardships, and just for a minute, we can come together and be very happy and content and feel safe. And that's what I want this environment for. I want it to feel safe. Yes, we cover yucky stuff, but there's yucky stuff to cover. We don't want to ignore it. Keep our head in the sand. So thank you, everyone, so much. And here's some dings. Source bless and namaste.
Thank you guys so much. Much love. Namaste.